Good morning, friends. Are you all excited to list your NGO on India's first social stock exchange? Want to know how you can get through the enlistment process? I am Ashish Agarwal from Team NGOenabler, and today in this video, we shall discuss the broad structure of the framework on social stock exchange released by Securities Exchange Board of India, White Circular dated 19th September 2022. And specifically, I will discuss the criteria to be met by the non-profit organizations based on the parameters laid down for listing on such social stock exchange. What is social stock exchange all about have already been briefly discussed in our video published on 11th October 2021. If you have not watched it till now, do have a look at it by clicking on the I button on the screen. So first, let's have a look at the framework. Part A covers the eligibility criteria to be met by the non-profit organizations for registration with social stock exchange. Part B lays down the minimum initial disclosure requirements which the fundraising document should contain. Part C lays down the annual disclosures that would have to be made by the non-profit organizations after registering with social stock exchange. Part D covers the most crucial aspect for the registered non-profit organizations, which is the disclosure of annual impact report. I repeat, the disclosure of annual impact report, which shall play a vital role in raising funds from the investors. And at last, Part E, where the timeline for submission of statement of utilization of funds has been prescribed. We will be releasing a series of videos to cover the entire framework in detail. In this video today, we are covering only Part A and shall discuss all the broad parameters, its indicators and details for eligibility criteria. First and foremost is about the registration of the entity to be listed on the social stock exchange. An entity should be registered as a non-profit organization, and we all know that in India, you can be registered as a charitable organization only in three forms. A charitable trust, which is registered under the Indian Public Trust Act 1882 or the Public Trust Act of the relevant state. A charitable society, which is registered under the Society Registration Act 1860 or the State Society Act. And at last, as a company, which is a Section 8 company registered under the Companies Act 2013. So now let's move on to the ownership and the control of such entity. The organization should of course have the ownership documents, that is the legal instrument under which the organization was constituted. It can be the Memorandum of Association and the Articles of Association in case of company, the Memorandum of Association and the bylaws in case of society, and in case of trust, it would be trust deed. Now let's move on to the registration of the NGOs under the Income Tax Act. The exemption under Section 12AB, the validity of which should be at least for next 12 months from the date of application. So this is the another criteria which the non-profit organizations need to meet. The exemption certificate, which is already there under Section 12AB for those organizations, it should have the validity of at least for the next 12 months from the date of application. Here, I would also like you to note that the organization should not have any ongoing litigation or any open notice pending to be resolved. Next comes a valid PAN. The organization should of course have a valid PAN and should have completed 3 years of its establishment before applying for registration with social stock exchange. Apart from the registration under Section 12AB, it's also mandatory for the organization to be registered under Section 80G of the Income Tax Act so that the investors can avail the tax benefit. Last but not the least, the annual receipt of the organization in the past financial year should be minimum rupees 10 lakhs and the annual spending should be at least rupees 50 lakhs. So friends, revisit all the criteria in the context of your organization and see whether you are one of the lucky ones eligible to enlist yourself on social stock exchange. However, the disclosure requirements that we shall discuss in our upcoming videos too shall be equally important and need attention ahead of applying for registration with social stock exchange. For any clarifications, feel free to contact us or comment below. If you have not subscribed our channel yet, please do it to receive regular updates and don't forget to click on the bell button. Thank you.